Shi Youcai, one of the co-founders of Baidu, was taken away by the CCP police. The detention is suspected to be related to advertising for illegal gambling. Baidu's public relations department declined to comment. A man drives a tractor shovel to crush a police car in Luanshan, Henan. On September 23rd, Luoyang, Henan Province, police reported the case that a man driving a tractor shovel smashed a police car and damaged public facilities. After receiving the report, the police quickly arrived at the scene. Live video shows the man drove a tractor shovel and damaged the neighborhood walls and roadside bridges along the way. Several police officers tried to stop him with police restraint equipment. The man ignored the police intervention and drove on. He crashed into a police car and damaged the police car with the shovel. A police officer jumped into the cabin, pulled the man out and subdued him. There were no casualties. The case is under further investigation. Another case of food poisoning is reported in Harbin, Heilongjiang Province. On September 23rd, students at 4 schools in Harbin reported vomiting, diarrhea, and other symptoms after lunch. 40 students with acute symptoms were hospitalized, and the remaining 200 plus with mild symptoms sent home for observation. Food samples have been sent to local CDC for inspection. The cause of the incident is under investigation. On September 23rd, at Sichuan Media College, security guards smashed food delivery ordered by students who had been locked inside the school under the closed campus policy. They ordered takeout because the cafeteria didn't have enough capacity to accommodate all students. In Shijiazhuang City, the people fought back against forced demolitions of their homes by the government and defended their rights. They sang the Internationale in front of the local government. The CCP official media reported over 1,800 acres of crops were affected and 3.5 million acres of rice fields have zero yield. Anhui faces diminished farm output. The CCP's official media window-dressed its leader's speech at the UN and continued to brainwash the Chinese people. Pompeo warned state officials to be vigilant against Chinese diplomats, eliciting objection from the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Evergrande Group, laden with more than 800 billion yuan of debt, is in full crisis mode. Hu Xijin claimed that if the US were to station troops in Taiwan, China would declare war. Global Times labeled Trump's accusation of China at the UN General Assembly as a vulgar attack. The Xinhua news agency once again countered the U.S. accusations about the CCP-Virus, claiming the UN platform has been tainted by a political virus. Professor Zhao Zhendong, a renowned Chinese pathogenic biologist, died in the early morning of September 17th. As shown in this footage taken by the locals, a large amount of military supplies was transported into Zhuhai on September 23rd. Operation against the fake activists. Our friends, we are protesting outside fake democracy activist Wu Jianming's home. We expose these CCP spies so that they cannot stay in the US. Keep up the good work, our friends. Our operation to take out the fake activists is underway. The CCP again tried to stage a fake peace talk with India. Reacting to the U.S. President's speech at the UN, Wang Wenbin, Foreign Ministry spokesperson, said the U.S. used the UN podium to fabricate lies while disregarding the truth. Out of ulterior political purposes, it issued groundless accusations and smears against China. What authority does a country like the U.S. have to blame China? We suggest the U.S. stop playing political games, give up unilateralism, and fulfill its duties to the world. The CCP arranged so-called representatives of the Hong Kong youth to speak at the UN Assembly. They accused foreign nations of interference in Hong Kong's affairs, trying to cover up the CCP's brutality and ruthless acts against the Hong Kong people.
Our youngsters to burn down their own city by telling them to ignore the basic law and embrace separatism, or by deep-rooted hatred towards their own ethnicity. We can't believe this hypocritical behavior could even happen, and seen as acceptable by many mainstream media and politicians. So stop endorsing violence and stop embracing liars. This is one country and two systems, not one country and another institution.
5 important points, and all the 5 points are verified. First, there is cover-up in China about SARS-CoV-2 outbreak. There is already human-to-human transmission. This is a highly mutant virus. There is no intermediate host. The Wuhan Huanan seafood market is just a smoke screen from Chinese government. This virus is not from nature. It is a lab-modified virus.
What gives you this level of certainty to say you know? Because you're saying, I know for a fact this is man-made. How do you know?
More than my scientific evidence I present in this report and also the next one.
This is a very important matter. The world stopped for 6 months. A million people have died because of this. If this is man-made, they need to be held accountable. And if you, based on your research that you're making, you're not right, I think we also need to know that you were wrong in certain places. Yeah. Quite frankly, don't trust both sides 100%.
So together with all these things, I think it's easy for people to understand who is lying.
If what you say is true, this could be the biggest cover-up of this century.
I want to distinguish, importantly, 2 things. First, look, plenty of countries try to influence our politics and our culture, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not worried about the Alliance Française or the National Italian American Organization or an Irish group. They're fundamentally different than what the Chinese Communist Party is doing. It has a much more sinister view of this engagement. The party and its proxies aim to make Americans receptive to Beijing's form authoritarianism. Now, I used this language carefully. I talk about the Chinese Communist Party because I have a second distinction I want to draw, which is between that party and the people of China, between the leaders of China and those who want to live in China as free peoples, at peace and prosperity, and take care of their families in the same way that we all do here in the United States. The Chinese Communist Party views itself as the true vanguard of Marxist-Leninist thought, which proposes that communist countries like theirs must struggle and prevail against capitalist nations like ours.
Was this a leak, or did they deliberately let it out? Or once it leaked out, they decided let it spread to the whole world and we'll try and use it to our advantage?
It cannot be leaked. That's what I want emphasis. Leak means accident, means there is some problem happened, but not the proper way to do it. No, this is from the beginning. They know it. I said, besides the evidence in science I show you, I also work with the top corona expert in the world. Remember the top 1 coronavirus expert, Professor Manik Paris. He just quickly resigned when I escaped from Hong Kong. Although he had millions of the funding from Hong Kong government, from other government, U.S. government, or the WHO to conduct the experiments. But he just retired and go back to Sri Lanka. What happened still until now, he didn't come out to tell anything respond to this.
Right.
What I can tell you, I know these scientists very well, and I stay in China for over 30 years since I was born. I know what happened inside, not only from scientific evidence, but also intelligence.
China, known for trapping nations through debt, wants a loan. Earlier this month, Beijing announced that it will tweak its foreign exchange rules. Foreign investors can now invest directly into Chinese bonds that trade on the exchanges. What does that mean? A government or company issues a bond when it wants to raise money. Those who buy it are extending a loan to the borrower. Just like stocks, bonds too can be bought and sold on the exchange. China's bond market is valued at a whopping $16 billion. It wants more people to invest. China is opening doors for foreign investors. But why? Does it need more money? The latest numbers suggest that the situation could get worse. China's banking system is under pressure. Asked by Beijing to save the Chinese economy, China's banks had to forego $211 billion in profit. The money went towards cheap funding, payment deferrals, and more lending. Beijing has put pressure on the banks to lend more money. Loans and advances at the four big banks of China rose by 7 to 10%. They are giving out more loans, even when bad loans are on the rise. According to numbers posted in May, the level of bad debt at Chinese banks has touched an 11-year high. The non-performing loans, or non-performing assets, at Chinese commercial banks crossed $360 billion. Money seems to be in short supply in the Chinese economy.
Back to the Vatican, the CCP. We're talking about infiltration. The National Pulse, Raheem, others have been doing a great job of how the CCP is everywhere. They're in Backer-Berggruen. They're everywhere in the United States. They've infected Wall Street, the universities, all of it. Talk about the Vatican. The Vatican is actually bragging about extending this deal. They haven't answered Milesguo. Milesguo said, "Hey, you guys are taking cash money from the CCP for this deal." McCarrick negotiated this, the worst devil in the world, McCarrick, right, negotiated this. Walk our audience through where we stand today and what is your latest reporting on the Chinese Communist Party in the Vatican?
Steve, all signs are pointing to a renewal of the Vatican-China agreement. But there has been a historic, unprecedented development, which has never been seen before. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has begun a strong diplomatic campaign denouncing the renewal of this deal. Last week, Pompeo wrote a very long article in First Things, which is the premier intellectual Catholic periodical in America, which I might add is read every week by the Vatican. And he lays out this very strong, blistering attack against the CCP and the religious persecution in the last 2 years when this Vatican agreement was unfolding. And he has a powerful voice, but he ends with this warning and urges the Vatican not to renew this agreement because Pompeo says if the CCP manages to bring the Catholic Church to heel, Regimes that disdain human rights will be emboldened. Pompeo minces no words. I mean, this is the diplomatic throwdown. He is putting down a diplomatic marker that we have never seen before. But he even went further. In a Twitter account, Pompeo said, the CCP's abuse of the faithful has gotten worse. The Vatican endangers its own moral authority if it renews the deal. I mean, he is standing with, our Secretary of State is standing with Chinese Catholics. And basically he's saying the Vatican is not. So essentially, the State Department is performing the work that the Vatican should be doing, fighting against the persecution of Christians. Steve, this is an issue not just for Catholics, but as you know, Christians around the world, religious freedom fighters have been pleading with the Vatican to end this deal and to walk away from the violence and persecution of the CCP. But the moral voice of the Vatican is at risk, and it's being subsumed by the CCP.
Okay, Liz, we're going to be all over this story in the days and week ahead. There can't be anything more important. The Vatican cannot be allowed to, and by the way, this has nothing to do with theology. This has to do with politics and with geopolitics. Cardinal Zen, I think the holiest guy in the Catholic Church, is adamantly opposed to this. Liz, real quickly, how do people get to your Twitter feed? We're going to be pushing this hard over the next couple of weeks to try to stop the Vatican from getting in deeper in with the Chinese Communist Party. What's your Twitter handle? How do people get to your writings?
Elizabeth Yore is my Twitter, and my website is Yore, Y-O-R-E, children.com.
When are we taking it to the streets? Not yet, my friends. I reckon the CCP might be gone before you even get a chance to go out on the streets. These stupid pigs in the CCP, we didn't want to go die so fast. But now it just has to push everyone aside and won't stop until it jumps into the pit of death. What can you do? It's like I say, CCP, don't be in such a hurry to die. Why do you want to do that? You are no fun. We aren't prepared yet. Our new federal state of China, such as today in Phoenix, Arizona. We flew to Phoenix to inspect our base with all the handsome men and beautiful ladies there. We aren't done preparing yet. Wait until we are prepared before you die. But now, the CCP breaks free from people trying to hold it back and screams, "Don't hold me back, I want to die fast." What can you do? Nothing. Perhaps tonight or tomorrow, you will see before September 29th. You will see it for sure. The CCP will open another Pandora's box. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau declared Wednesday that a second wave of the coronavirus is already underway in most of Canada. Europe is now grappling with a second wave of coronavirus infections that could once again wreak significant damage on the region's economy. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention now says thousands of passengers on board commercial flights may have been exposed to coronavirus since the start of 2020. On a daily basis, nearly 90,000 Americans are being assaulted in one form or another through small package mail by unscrupulous made-in-China exporters. Tragedy yields fall with coronavirus. Fed testimony, jobless claims in focus. U.S. stock futures see volatile moves following sell-off on Wall Street. Metropolitan Opera cancels 2020 to 2021 season due to COVID-19 concerns. Critics say Twitter stands by as Chinese media threatens Taiwan leader.